So the House Republicans have now officially launched their Biden impeachment inquiry. Now, understand, guys, the fact that Kevin McCarthy did an impeachment inquiry as opposed to just having an impeachment vote is because he felt like, look, we don't have enough yet. We don't have the evidence. We don't have the details. We don't have the specifics. So basically, in an attempt to appease the far right who was screaming about this from the top of their lungs, he's like, okay, we're going to do an impeachment inquiry. Okay, so that's why we are where we are. Now, they started with the hearings, and here you're going to see Fox News host Neil Cavuto, who sat through and watched the majority of the hearings, and let's just say he is really, really not happy with how the Republicans are doing. Let's watch.
All right, for the better part of 6 hours, I have been following these hearings, save an hour off to do my Fox Business show earlier today. I don't know what was achieved over these last 6+ hours. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto. I want to put in perspective here, though, and we are going to legally go through all the details, but James Comer, the Oversight Committee chairman, had said that there would be presented a mountain of evidence against Mr. Biden. It was referring to President Biden. But none of the expert witnesses today present yet any proof for impeachment. Now, to be clear, this was not about impeachment. This is about launching an impeachment inquiry. But it is worth pointing out that none of the witnesses today were fact witnesses. That means that none were involved in the investigation into the alleged activities in the first place. What's more, none of the witnesses testified today of direct knowledge of what Republicans have been claiming about Joe Biden. In other words, that the way this was built up, where there's smoke, there would be fire. Again, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm going to be talking to some darn smart ones in a moment. But where there's smoke today, we just got a lot more smoke. We also say that the best they could say now, after this 6+ hours of testimony back and forth, is that they're going to try to get more bank records from Joe Biden, and his son says that they're needed to determine if a crime was committed. Understood. But none of that was presented today, just that they would need those records to further this investigation today, even though this occurs after months of Republican probes that failed to provide anything resembling concrete evidence.
So he goes on to say, look, in most of the hearing, it was Hunter, 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 which is like, okay, fair enough. I think any reasonable person would agree. Hunter is not only a mess, he's also corrupt, and certainly attempted to be corrupt in the sense that he brings in the rest of his family, brings in his dad, etc. But Neil Cavuto points out, I don't see Dickie McGee's axe pointing back to Joe Biden. And you guys were acting like we got the smoking gun, we got the mountain of evidence, and none of that was actually shown. So here's a guy who's sympathetic to the Republicans. He's a conservative guy. And he's out there like, this is the best you can do? This is the best you can do? And he seems pissed. I mean, this is kind of scathing insofar as a Fox News host goes after Republicans. So I got one more for you here. Let's watch this one too.
Many times I saw references to Biden in these remarks, as if they were Joe Biden. Repeatedly, they were references to Hunter Biden. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not even smart in interpreting legal shows I see on TV. But when you begin to trumpet what you have as the beginning of an explosive inquiry into the President of the United States to potentially remove him from office, would think you would bring your A game. Now, maybe this is all part of a pattern and a legal process of which I'm totally unfamiliar. Guilty as charged. But this took over 6 hours today, my friends. Over 6 hours. I wonder. All right.
He is not happy. He is not happy. And look, I think one of the things that is also pissing him off is that he understands the macro picture. And here's the way it works in the macro picture, guys. Let's say this impeachment inquiry leads to an impeachment vote. And let's say, best case scenario, it gets through the House, which, by the way, is a big question mark because there are Republicans from blue districts who might not vote for impeachment. Okay? But let's just grant them that. It gets through the House. What's going to happen in the Senate? It is going to die a painful and quick death. It's going to be over like that, and Joe Biden is going to be exonerated. We saw similar things with the Trump impeachments where it got through the House and then it died in the Senate. And then what do? You hand the opposition a moment where they get to waltz around and be like, totally exonerated, did nothing wrong, told you I was right all along, and you get a slew of positive headlines for your opponent. So from a conservative perspective, from a Republican perspective, from Neil Cavuto's perspective, he knows how this is going to play out. The different scenarios are you have this impeachment inquiry, and then it doesn't even reach the level where you have an impeachment vote in the House. That's very possible. Could also be you have the impeachment inquiry, then you try to gin up a vote in the House, and it fails in the House. That's absolutely possible. It's also, you can gin up the vote, and then it does get through the House, but even in that scenario, it dies in the Senate. It dies. And then you hand Joe Biden positive headlines going into the election. And so I think when people see that macro picture, they realize, oh, this actually, yet again, it's the Matt Gaetz thing, right? I'm going to inadvertently help the Democrats. That's what we're looking at here. And I think Neil Cavuto knows that because he's been covering politics for a very long time. He gets some basics about Washington in a way that a lot like the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world don't get. They don't understand. You are playing a losing hand here, period. And then when you mix in the fact that, you know, the hearings are Hunter, guys, full concession. Hunter's a goon. Hunter's a mess. Hunter's a criminal. Hunter's corrupt. I agree with you on all of that. And by the way, what you see is there are many other Democrats, House Democrats, elected Democrats who are like, totally agree. If you find the crimes, lock them up. No problem whatsoever. This is what Democrats are saying. But you got to present the goods when you're going after Biden, Joe Biden, to get him involved, and they haven't done that yet. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's very possible. And to be honest, I like this precedent of going after, politicians for corruption. I like that precedent. I'm your Huckleberry. Keep doing it. But ultimately, on this particular issue, it's failing at the moment. And Neil Cavuto knows that. And he's like, sweet Jesus, I thought you guys had better stuff than this. Guys, there's been a number of stories vis-a-vis Hunter and Joe where it's just like faked text messages that are all over social media where they're like, oh, we found the smoking gun. And come to find out, no, it was doctored. It's not real. Totally fake text message, etc. And this is the level that we're operating at. Well, what do you expect from a party that came out and said, we want to impeach Joe Biden because he withdrew from Afghanistan? We want to impeach Joe Biden because he's doing open borders, even though he's literally not doing open borders. What do you expect? They're not going to bring the goods. They're not going to have the evidence and the proof. And Neil Cavuto is being honest about that. And so this is a Fox News host basically giving up the game on Republicans, calling out their BS. And as somebody pointed out in the comments, I don't know, this seems kind of fair and balanced to me. What Fox News says they are, right? This is an actual instance of that. And by the way, so now you know why when you look at the percentage of viewers of media who vote for different candidates, it used to be Fox News, like 100% of the viewers would vote for Trump. Right now, it's all the way down to 43%. But the Newsmax viewers and the One American News viewers, that's like, 80, 90% of them vote for Trump. And so you're seeing a little bit why here, because at least you have some moderating voices. Every now and then Brett Baer, every now and then Steve Doocy, and every now and then Neil Cavuto. And I do respect Cavuto in this sense. He's time and time again, he stood up to his own audience and challenged them. And then on the next show, what he'll do is he'll read the hate mail that he got out loud. So I respect anybody who's willing to say the unpopular but true thing in their circle. And that's what Neil Cavuto has done here a number of times. And the viewers are not going to like this, but it's also a much-needed dose of reality. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.